Well then, Melody, that's all for now.
Yeah, Hayden.
The flight tomorrow is after 7 a.m., right?
Yes, that's right. There's a diner near the hotel where I'm staying that opens at 6 a.m., so I plan to have breakfast there before heading to the airport.
I see. Sorry that I can't see you off.
It's okay. You've got work, right? Besides, it's not like we'll never see each other while we're living apart.
Yeah, that's true. My work as a dance instructor is likely to pick up on that side of things.
And we've already had a solid discussion about our future plans. Since I'll be over there, I'll make sure to keep moving forward with all the preparations and paperwork I can handle.
Got it. Thanks a lot.
Serves you right. Riley, what's this about serves you right?
I heard Dad told you about the separation and now you're homeless, right?
Excuse me?
When Dad remarried that older, poor woman 5 years ago, I was seriously shocked. But now, look at you, abandoned by him. And a divorce is probably coming soon.
Okay, yes, we did start living separately, but that's because of our work schedules. And just to clear things up, I've actually signed a lease for my apartment in this area, so I'm definitely not homeless.
What's a part-time housewife who depended on Dad's income talking about? Plus, now that you're separated, it looks like you've moved out of this area, so you won't even be able to continue your part-time job. In other words, unemployed. That means you're homeless, right?
Listen, that's not it. My job isn't part-time, and I earn enough on my own.
Right, you're saying you've got your own income now, huh? But wasn't it because you were getting allowances from Dad before? Acting like you've earned it all by yourself? I can't stand women who act like they've achieved something when it's just Dad's money.
Has Dad never told you anything about my work?
Isn't it a part-time job at a convenience store? I've actually seen you serving customers at that convenience store by S Station.
The convenience store is a family business, actually. It's something my family runs, and sometimes I help out when part-time students need a hand, during exam periods or when the store is short-staffed.
So you're just filling in during your usual part-time hours, right? It's still the same low income you've had all along, just with a little more work. Don't make it sound like you're doing something impressive.
I've told you already, I'm not working part-time.
Oh, I get it. That whole thing about I'm a business owner, was that a big lie you've been telling yourself? You're still going on about that fantasy? There's no way a woman who dropped out of school could ever be in charge of something, right?
Forget it. No matter how much I explain, we just keep going in circles with this conversation. Anyway, it's only 1 more year, right?
1 year?
I think you should start preparing for life after high school, too.
Huh? What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Hayden, about Riley.
Oh, Melody, what's up?
There was a property I had been looking into in the area, and it's just been listed for sale.
Oh, really?
I was thinking of scheduling a viewing to coincide with your visit next week. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Please go ahead and arrange it.
Got it.
Wait, actually, sorry, Melody.
What's wrong?
It seems like Riley said something strange.
Ah, you mean the misunderstanding about the reason for the separation?
Yeah, she's under the impression that I started living separately with the intention of getting a divorce, and no matter how much I explain, she doesn't get it. She kept interrupting me while I was talking, saying things like, "It's not like you have to defend him now," and "I'm an adult now, so I understand the grown-up stuff. I'm fine." She just kept laughing and dismissing everything I said. She doesn't listen to anything. She's so much like her mother in that regard.
Well, I haven't exactly made my job clear to her, so I guess it's understandable that she might be confused.
Yeah, that can't be helped. I used to work at that dance school, and I've mentioned that a famous idol trained there before their debut, and things got blown out of proportion because of it. I got caught up in all that mess.
I was even asked to get 30 idols' autographs without anyone even asking me directly.
That was tough to turn down, wasn't it? Even after I told them I was a different course instructor and had no contact with the idols, they wouldn't listen. It was such a hassle.
And Riley still doesn't seem to understand what's wrong with it. She doesn't get it at all.
As for you, I could never tell her about the company you run or how you managed to save $3 million by the time you're in your 40s. That kind of income is something I can't share with anyone.
I don't think anyone else would have the courage to talk about your savings. But if there's ever a chance to bring up the company, I guess it'll have to wait until after the promised day, a year from now.
Yeah.
It's been a year, you poor girl.
Finished your graduation ceremony today, huh?
Oh, right.
Congratulations on graduating.
Well, I'm moving now. Gotta pack up.
Oh, I see. So you've been preparing for this.
Of course. What do you think? I'm going to live in a mansion in the heart of the city while attending university.
What?
We bought a mansion, you know. Dad was so happy he was practically dancing.
Do you know that they bought a house in the city?
I overheard you talking about it on the phone with someone.
You heard that?
Dad was trying to keep it a surprise for me, but of course I knew. He's my dad, after all.
Riley, can you please stop?
What do you mean? Are you saying you don't want to live with me anymore? You should be getting a divorce soon, right?
That's not what I meant. What I'm asking is this. Do you really think you can afford the mortgage on that house with Hayden's income?
What?
I'm just going to be blunt here. Don't get mad, but that house, it's in my name.
No way.
Sure, Hayden's successful as a dance instructor and his income is a bit higher than the average for his age, but there's no way he makes enough to buy a mansion in the heart of the city. I don't want to explain this further, so I'll just pass the baton to Hayden now.
Huh? Wait, are you with Dad right now? Why?
Riley!
Papa? Hey, why are you with Melody, who's supposed to be getting a divorce?
I never said we were getting a divorce.
What? Wait a minute, but you've been separated for a whole year now. When you say separated, doesn't that usually mean that a divorce is just around the corner?
It's not like that. It's a temporary separation, just due to work commitments.
Temporary? Work commitments? But Melanie doesn't even have a job now, right? Isn't she unemployed? And she doesn't have anywhere to stay, does she? She's probably homeless right now, isn't she?
You really don't listen, do you?
What do you mean?
I've told you so many times that Melody is a business owner. What I'm about to tell you now is something I haven't shared before, but she runs an entertainment production company.
An entertainment production company?
Yes. Until now, she's mainly been operating the company out of regional offices. However, her talents and performers have been increasingly getting jobs in New York City, so we decided it was the right time to relocate the headquarters there. I, too, will have more freedom once I finish some commitments in about a year, and I'm planning to start working for Melody's company. So we've been preparing for the company move, both personally and professionally. That's why we had to have this separation for a year.
But didn't you two have some kind of falling out?
Riley, you've been twisting the story to fit your own view, constantly belittling Melody and insulting her. You've started to sound just like your mother, the one who destroyed our family.
Wait, are you talking about Mom?
You know that your mother's affair was the real reason for our divorce. And I also explained to you that I'm not your biological father.
Well, I know that. But still, I was born when you and Mom were married, right? That means officially, on paper, you're still my father, right? So I'm your daughter, isn't that right?
No, not anymore. On paper, I'm no longer your father.
What?
When your real father, the man your mother had an affair with, was confirmed, there was a process that allowed for legal changes. So Riley, as of now, there is no longer any record of me being your father.
What are you talking about? Then why did you take me in? When Mom disappeared with some guy, you were the one who took me in.
We explained this when we took you in. But the truth is, it was actually your maternal grandparents who took you in first.
What? Huh?
Yes. Your grandparents were getting older and were concerned about their health. But despite everything that happened, they couldn't bear the thought of sending their own granddaughter to an orphanage or an institution. They knew the situation was complicated, but in the end, they turned to me, your former stepfather, because they felt I was the right person to take care of you.
Wait, so it was them, not you?
That's right. But they were concerned about their ability to take care of you, especially as they were getting older and facing health issues. They knew that they couldn't properly look after you with their declining health, so they turned to me. But even though I had no obligation to raise you, I didn't want to refuse their request. After thinking it through and discussing it with Melody, we decided that we would take care of you until you graduated high school.
Hold on. You're saying that today is my graduation day, right? Today?
Yes, exactly. We made that arrangement long ago, and we even signed the necessary papers to make it official. This wasn't just something we decided on a whim. It was a promise, and it was all legally documented.
I don't remember that.
I know you don't remember it, but the documents are real, and they're there. You can't deny that.
Wait, seriously?
Yes, it's all in the documents. So, while you were off at your graduation, I went ahead and packed up all your things. I've already left. I'm in New York City now.
What? You're already there?
Yes, I've already moved. I was only waiting for this moment for you to graduate. And now, it's time for me to go.
Wait, so that means you're saying I have to move out now? Like, right away?
Yes, I'd appreciate it if you could vacate the house soon. You've been living in my place for a while now, and with everything that's happened, it's time for you to find your own place.
Wait, hold on a second. I thought I was supposed to be living with you in the big house in New York City. That house I thought was for all of us to live in together. You never told me that this would happen. What am I supposed to do now? I don't have anywhere to go.
I'm afraid you need to figure that out on your own. I've already made the necessary arrangements on my end, and now it's time for you to step up. I'm sure you can manage. After all, you've been living here for years, and now it's time for you to learn to be independent. I understand this may be difficult for you, but it's something you'll need to do eventually. This is just the first step.
But Papa, this doesn't make sense. I thought I would be part of the family and we'd all stay together. How could you just leave me like this?
It's not about leaving you behind. It's about fulfilling our promises and living up to what was agreed upon. The truth is, I've already moved on, and now it's time for you to do the same.
Papa? Why won't you answer me? Melody! Hey, I just wanted to tell you that I'm moving into the mansion you bought.
Finally, I have been freed from those days of constant meaningless insults. And to be honest, I am feeling so relieved right now, it's almost overwhelming. I can't even begin to describe how stressful those days were, but now that they're over, I realize just how much weight I've been carrying on my shoulders.
What?
And I found out that I'm pregnant.
Pregnant?
Yes, of course, it's Hayden's child. It's going to be a high-risk pregnancy because I'm in my 40s, so I'm being extra cautious about everything. Anything that might cause stress, I'm cutting it out of my life, no questions asked.
I was the one who caused stress?
I need you to realize just how much you've contributed to all of this.
Oh.
So with that said, I'll be leaving now. The following day, Riley found herself heading towards her maternal grandparents' house, located about a 15-minute walk from where she had been staying. The house was familiar to her, and despite the emotional turmoil she was experiencing, it felt like the only place left to turn to for support. She had a strained but present relationship with her grandparents, having seen them on several occasions over the years, though it was not one based on deep emotional closeness. Regardless, it felt like the best option given the circumstances. She had no real plan. The only thing that was certain was her sense of desperation. As Riley walked towards their house, the path felt longer than it usually did, perhaps because of the weight of her situation was now so much more apparent. Her mind raced, and she struggled to push away the overwhelming emotions and confusion that had taken over her. She wasn't just carrying her physical belongings, but a heavy burden of uncertainty, rejection, and feelings of abandonment. Every step she took towards her grandparents' house seemed to carry an invisible weight on her shoulders, one she couldn't shake off no matter how hard she tried. When Riley finally arrived at the house, she was greeted by her grandparents, but there was something noticeably distant in their response. It wasn't an unkind reception, but it lacked the warmth she had hoped for. After all, she had come here expecting that, in a moment of crisis, family would offer some solace. Instead, there was an awkwardness in the air, a hesitation that immediately made her question whether this had been the right decision. Her grandparents were elderly, and though they had been kind to her in the past, the situation she now found herself in felt far different from the one in which they had once provided support. It became clear to Riley that her visit was not going to be as simple as she imagined. Although she had expected some help, the reality was harsher than she had hoped. 6 months prior, her uncle's family had moved in with her grandparents, and the dynamics of the household had changed dramatically. What had once been a relatively quiet, stable environment was now filled with additional people, which added to the already tense atmosphere. Her uncle, his wife, and their children were all now living under the same roof, and the strain on everyone's patience was visible. Riley's grandparents, while seemingly understanding of her predicament, had also been dealing with their own challenges and were not in a position to offer her the kind of help she needed. Her uncle, who had become more of a fixture in their home, made it very clear from the moment she arrived that he had no intention of offering her any assistance. His coldness was unmistakable, and his words were harsh. He bluntly told Riley that there was no room for her there, and if she wanted to stay, she would have to leave within 3 weeks. The ultimatum was final, and there was no room for negotiation. Devastated and shocked, Riley was left standing in front of her grandparents' house with her belongings scattered around her. It felt like a betrayal, a complete abandonment by the family she had always known. She could hardly believe that she was being treated this way. She had hoped for understanding, for a chance to rebuild her life with the support of those who had watched her grow up. But instead, she was being pushed away with no regard for her struggles. Riley's world had crumbled, and she was left to pick up the pieces alone. The days passed, and Riley struggled to come to terms with the situation. It wasn't just the rejection that was hard to bear. It was the overwhelming sense of hopelessness that seemed to follow her everywhere. For weeks she stayed at her grandparents' house trying to convince herself that there was still a way out, that there was some possibility for reconciliation. But the more she tried to make sense of everything, the more she realized that she was fighting a losing battle. The 3-week deadline loomed over her, and the thought of being kicked out with nowhere to go was terrifying. In the midst of all this, Riley suddenly remembered something crucial, something she had completely forgotten in all the chaos of the past few weeks. She had been planning to attend university, and part of her plan had been that her father, Hayden, would pay for her admission fees. She had never even considered that Hayden might not be willing to support her. It was an assumption she had made out of habit, but the reality hit her like a ton of bricks when she realized the payment deadline had already passed. By the time the thought crossed her mind, it was too late. The window of opportunity had closed, and she had missed her chance. The weight of this realization was unbearable. Riley felt as if everything she had worked toward, her education, her future, was now slipping through her fingers. She had been counting on Hayden to help her, and now it seemed that her dream of going to university was nothing more than a distant fantasy. The emotional toll of it all broke her. Desperation and panic set in as she rushed to her grandparents and uncle, begging them for help. "If I don't pay the fees, I won't be able to graduate. I'll just be a high school graduate with no future," she cried. But instead of compassion, she was met with cold indifference. Her uncle's response was a sharp rebuke. He told her that it wasn't their responsibility to fix her problems and that she needed to figure things out on her own. The complete lack of empathy stung deeply, and Riley felt her heart shatter as she realized that no one was going to help her. It was as if she had become invisible to them, a burden that they no longer cared to bear. The rejection didn't stop there. In the cruelest of gestures, her belongings were thrown out onto the front lawn. Everything she had, her clothes, her books, her personal items, were discarded without a second thought. The message was clear. She was no longer welcome, no longer part of the family. It was a stark reminder of how quickly everything could change, how easily people could turn their backs on you when you needed them the most. Riley left her grandparents' house with no real destination in mind. She had no plan, no idea where she was going, but she knew she couldn't stay there. She headed south, far from the place she had once called home, and she disappeared from their lives. Her family was left to wonder what had become of her. No one knew where she had gone or what had happened to her. The last anyone heard, she was on her way to an uncertain future, a future that seemed more and more hopeless as the days passed. What happened to Riley after she left her grandparents' house remains a mystery. Some say she headed to a nearby city, others think she might have reached out to distant relatives or friends. But in the end, no one knew for sure. The girl who had once dreamed of a bright future was now a lost soul, wandering through a world that seemed increasingly indifferent to her struggles. Her story, once full of hope, had now become a tale of abandonment, of rejection by the people she had once trusted. And as time passed, Riley's future seemed more and more uncertain, a future that was now hers to navigate alone.
Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. See you next time.